Hi, this is Craig Stevens, and we're the Change Mentors. I have Ann, you know Ann already, but we have Ryan now. Ryan is a new friend of mine. Ryan's going to tell more about his story and how we met a little bit, maybe a tiny bit, and because that would be kind of boring to you guys. But what will be real interesting is to hear more about what Ceridian can do for your company and your organization. So Ryan, I'm going to stop there and I'm going to turn it over to you and I'll ask questions as I have them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Thank you all. My name is Ryan Schaefer. I'm currently a human capital management consultant at Ceridian. I've been in the HCM software sales space for a little over 10 years at this point. And I had met Craig a few weeks back when I was just looking at current clients, and I happened to find one that was referred by Craig, and I ended up inviting him to go fly fishing of all things. So we left the golf bag at home and we went out on the Caney Fork River for the better part of a day and did some fly fishing together.
And you mentioned earlier, Ryan, that you don't like to golf as much or you're not as good as golfing and but fly fishing you do like. So that was a good way to handle that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've taken golf lessons in the past, and the level of frustration that I get from that particular sport is just kind of hinders my ability to focus and do well at it. So, I've got two little ones at home, and again, my passion is fly fish, and I try to go at least once a week. So anytime that I can run into other business professionals that I can get out on the water, it's always a great match.
Good. So tell us more about Ceridian and just give us a whole background of why this is a great organization for people to get to know.
Yeah, so Ceridian has been around for a while, specifically in the payroll tax and compliance industry. Um, there's some other names that are probably more recognizable. So Ceridian definitely has not done that great of a job from a marketing standpoint. But really, what sets us apart is we are now a global human capital management software company, and we really went through a reevaluation and really rebranded ourselves and started from scratch in the 2009 2010 era, when essentially we scrapped all of our legacy systems, and we brought on, through a reverse acquisition, a company called Dayforce. And the product founder of Dayforce is now our co-CEO, David Ossip. And that's what makes us unique. We started from scratch, whereas a lot of the other HCM companies, as they've grown their product suite over time, they've decided to partner or bolt on different solutions. Whereas we started from scratch with Pay and Time, and then over the past, call it 10 years, we've really built out a full suite human capital management software system that's on a single rules engine and a single database. So specifically, what I look for is companies that are up to 700 employees that have really complex needs around pay, time, and scheduling. Typically companies that are what we like to call those second or third generation buyers, where they've already worked with other competitors in the past and they want more out of the system, or they want more control, or they're growing globally, or they're scaling quickly. Those are typically really good fits for Ceridian. And the reason why is Ceridian, our solution Dayforce, it doesn't matter if you're 100 employees or 700,000 employees. All of our customers are on the same system. And what makes it unique to each company is the configurations and how it's set up. So it's a huge advantage for companies that are going through growth, because they're not blocked by certain employee counts or having to worry about one system sunsetting and having to go through another implementation with the same company, or having to reevaluate solutions as a whole.
So you said the size, and I think I misunderstood the size a little bit, but what's the smallest and the largest that would be ideal for your company? Not a
Yeah,
stretch.
so for Ceridian as a whole, our minimum employee count is 100 employees. One of the largest companies that we have on Dayforce is close to 1 million employees.
Wow.
So it's an enterprise grade software. Me specifically, I work in a segment called emerging, which goes up, is between 100 employees and 700.
Right, gotcha. So yeah, so I think I remember that. So between 100 and 700, you said? And
That's
so then
correct.
there would be other ranges and other people that might get involved if it was between 701, and what would the next range be, you think?
Yeah, the next range would go up to about 3,500 employees. And then it's, essentially 3,500 to about 10,000 and then 10,000 plus. So
Okay.
those are some of the internal segments that Ceridian has.
That's good to know, because that's good. So if so, and you specifically, any of these would be great. I mean, if a company fell in any of those categories, that covers about every mid-sized company up, right? And
Oh,
so,
absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. So the on the lower end, you would be the main point of contact for them, but you could also get them in touch with all the other people involved that needs to be involved.
100%. I can be that conduit to get them to the proper team.
So when you
Or the
mentioned,
proper village, really, because I mean it definitely takes a whole village when you're kind of start peeling back the onion on business needs and processes and things of that nature.
so Ann, just interrupt me if you think of something. I'm going down and I'm just jumping in where the things that I'm thinking of. So Ann, you make sure you,
I'm going to interrupt you right now.
okay, go ahead.
Oh, Ryan, okay, coming from an entrepreneurial side, uh, with under 100 employees, I've had businesses there and I've had businesses over 100 employees. And so how do you differentiate yourself from companies like ADP or any of those companies that are kind of in that same realm and obviously handle companies less than 100 employees as well?
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference in specific to ADP, because you just mentioned it, is, that's a perfect example of a service bureau where traditionally they always offered a service and they've kind of complemented that service with technology. Whereas Ceridian, we're a very good balance between a service company and a software company. So the biggest difference is we give our clients the keys to the castle. So we essentially we've set up, or Dayforce has been set up to be extremely easy to use, extremely intuitive, and you have the ability to make those configurations on your own. And over time, as you become, or as your team becomes a
Think,
subject matter expert offer, it essentially eliminates the need to call customer service.
Okay, so you have, it's less of a proprietary system. You can sort of go in there yourself and customize it to some degree so that it fits your model better.
Yeah, and we like to use the word configurable, because if something's customizable, that's you typically own that customization, right?
Okay.
Whereas
Okay.
the configurability, all of the scenarios
did you guys
Uh,
block out?
my
I'm,
internet's a little unstable.
Okay,
yeah,
say that last sentence again, if you don't mind. On
about
my end, I was looking
configurability.
up your website just so I could show it, but say that last sentence if you don't mind, or that last.
Configurability.
Yeah, so essentially, yeah. So what sets us apart from a service bureau? Um, so if you look at the full spectrum of HCM providers, on one side of the spectrum you have service bureaus, and as mentioned, they typically with a service bureau, they're offering a service and they complement that service with a software. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, it's just solely a software based company. And then you're leveraging various partners or that ecosystem to extend your offering. Whereas with Ceridian, we're kind of a hybrid of both, where we do everything in house from a payroll tax and compliance standpoint, but it's very configurable to meet the needs of the organization without being customizable, right? And we're kind of split in hairs with the verbiage, but that's ultimately the difference. And what I found in the past is if you have a system that is highly customizable, oftentimes you have to hire a team or use professional service type hours or use some sort of third party to manage that customization.
Yeah, I have another question. When you are small and you're using a service like ADP or someone in that realm, how easy is it to transition from one of those to Ceridian?
Yeah, so it's we're typically looking for what business drivers are kind of driving that evaluation, right? So for instance, a great example of a small company who would consider Ceridian is pharmaceutical industries, for instance, are typically a really great fit because they're often positioning themselves to get acquired or to merge with other companies. They typically have global employees. They're typically getting ready for an IPO. So during that transition, they're not only it's not they're just not changing out providers from an HCM perspective. They're really evaluating a lot of areas of their business. So oftentimes these implementations can range anywhere from 3 months to 9 months based on, and sometimes longer than 9 months based on the size of the company. But like anything, implementations are a lift. There's a lot that goes into it. Specifically with Ceridian, our methodology is a little bit different, where as we go through implementation, we're using your data, we're teaching you and your subject matter experts how to learn the system and how to navigate through it. We're testing different scenarios. So oftentimes, because of that approach, it takes a little bit more time on the front end, but it minimizes a lot of the headaches and errors later in the cycle.
Makes
Good.
sense.
I'm looking at the website now. You want me to share it? I'll just do that.
Sure.
Let's see. I'll do that, and maybe I'm in the right place. Let's see. So if you'd like to point anything out, but this is how they this is where I found it. I just did a Google search, right? So it's really easy. A couple of things came up. Dayforce came up a couple of times too, but
Yep.
it was
And Dayforce is our flagship solution. So that's the technology that we're essentially offering to our clients.
so it's I just popped this up, and then those are really good talking points too. So Dayforce, maybe just walk through the benefits of getting Dayforce for your company if you're not doing something now, or if you're doing something that's not working. Um, this is a good place. It says HR, payroll, Dayforce wallet, talent, and intelligence, and on. Do you any of those you would like to talk to or talk about?
Yeah, I think one of the things that sets us apart from virtually everywhere else there is Dayforce Wallet, and I think it speaks to how we reinvented ourselves, as I mentioned before, back in that 2010 timeframe. So Dayforce Wallet is essentially it's a tool that allows employees to access their earned wage prior to payday. Right. So if you think about that, there's a lot of complexities that go into it. But from an employer, it's been a great tool to attract and retain talent. From an employee perspective, it's really has provided them a lot of flexibility in regards to managing their finances, right? So, specifically, we see it if you have a new hire where they might have already been out of work for a couple weeks, and maybe you're paying them on a biweekly pay period, where that employee can sometimes go, 3, 4, 6 weeks even without getting paid. And Dayforce Wallet is a great tool that, again, allows them to access their wages that are already earned, but prior to payday. And they go on a little, Dayforce Wallet card, which is a MasterCard logoed, and they can transfer money to a banking account, they can pay their bills online, or they can swipe their card like any debit card.
Yeah, and that's one of the trends I see happening, or one of the advertisement is that paying by the day instead of by the 2 weeks.
Yeah, and for certain industries, it works better than others, or it's more appealing than others. But again, it speaks to this is something that a lot of our competitors will partner with a third party company to offer this type of service where we're able to do that natively within Ceridian.
Yep. And I
And
think I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You sound like
no, no,
but
go
I
ahead.
think one of the things you mentioned was just that how everything's works together. And that's one of the problems I've seen is that when you work with a whole bunch of different companies, then that integration is always a little bit tough.
That's exactly what we solve for, right? So when you think about other companies that are out there, oftentimes what you're really purchasing is a user interface that looks really gooey, looks really nice on the outside. And what's happening behind the scenes are all these integrations from payroll to time and attendance to recruiting to performance to succession planning to kind of all of those services that make up human capital management. And as a single database, we're able to eliminate all that because, again, all of those services are native within Dayforce. And the challenge that people typically have is when they think about their data, right? They're trying to tell their people story. The system, the user interface, at some point, they've plugged in all of the information you could ever possibly want into that user interface. But because behind the scenes, it's all being siloed based on multiple databases, it's very challenging to extract that data in a meaningful way. However, when you have a single system and a single database, the data flows very simply, and it's very easy to extract that data and use it from a reporting standpoint or from from a labor allocation perspective or to understand gaps that you might have in your workforce.
Sometimes when I go in and I look at a company first time, there may be 5 or 6 different databases. And if that's the case, you got 5 or 6 different database managers, maybe, and you have 5 or 6 different ways they define data, and it's just clunky, even if it's all developed in-house. So having something that's together, I guess that's kind of didn't state that correctly. I mean, even though it's in-house with one company, they may have to call 5 different companies in order to get something to work, right?
Well,
And
that's exactly it. I mean, I have an Ameritrade account for trading stocks, and then once I had children, I set up a 529 through Ameritrade. So now I'll go to Ameritrade, I'll do the scroll down for 529, then it will open up a new screen. I have a new login credentials, and then it's a completely separate database to manage, to make contributions, to pull different reports for my kids' 529. Right. So when I initially signed up with it, it was like, oh, I thought this was, part of Ameritrade, but come to find out, over time to meet that need, they acquired a company that offers 529s, and now they offer that service, but the user experience is it's not as clean as I was expecting it or expecting it to be rather. So, from an HCM perspective, that's our solve. That's what we can help people with.
I can see that. I can see that. That's a big benefit. Let's see. I see solutions. This looks like different types of companies. Is there a type of company that you guys are more, well, percentage-wise, which ones are the ones that kind of seem to be the best fit? I mean, all
Yeah,
these are.
so all of those are typically really good fits for Ceridian, but what specifically we're looking for is companies that have complexities, right? So whether that's pay allocation complexities or whether that's complexities around time and attendance and scheduling, those are typically really good fits for us. And actually, if you click on sports entertainment, this is actually a great example of what we solve for. So we provide human capital management services for more than half of the NFL. I don't know the actual percentage. I want to say it's about 65% of the NFL uses Ceridian Dayforce. And if you think about that, if you think about the Tennessee Titans flying up to New York to play the Giants on a game, New York Giants or the state of New York, they're going to want their proportionate share of the Tennessee Titans players' salary for that game, right? So if you think about and then New York as a whole, they have, very complex rules and regulations as it pertains to taxes on, a federal, state, or a state and local level. I mean, think about trying to track their proportionate share from the minute that that player lands or sets foot in New York to the minute that they leave to fly back to Tennessee. So those are some of the things that we can help with.
Yeah, that's big business too. You're saying, see what's under other industries, just for curiosity.
Yep, that's just going to be everything else.
Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot about what makes a good fit. What doesn't make a good fit, right? Is because Ceridian, as I mentioned, is a great solution for those second and third generation buyers or users of software. But if your business is really simplistic, if you don't have a very large team as it pertains to HR and payroll, if you just have a lot of salary employees where not much changes on a biweekly or monthly basis. If you're not in multiple states, if you're not expanding globally or looking to grow aggressively through mergers and acquisitions, those are typically companies where what we'll oftentimes introduce them to a competitor that we work with, or just have that conversation and suggest that we're not a great fit.
Good deal. All right, we've covered a lot, so that's pretty good. What we haven't covered is how they get a hold of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, Ryan Schaefer on LinkedIn, and I can definitely provide my email address and contact information if anyone wouldn't want to chat. And actually, one other thing as well that I can, if you go back to our website, Craig,
Okay.
I'll kind of call out an event that we've got coming up on June 8th in Atlanta. So if you go under company and go to events, we have under events, we have a Chicago summit that's coming up next week. But if you scroll down, we actually have an event, a Ceridian event, or a Ceridian summit rather, that is going to be in Atlanta. So this is going to be a phenomenal opportunity for anyone that's in really a couple-hour drive. That's it right there, Ceridian Summit. So if you click on the register now, it will pop up the kind of the agenda. But just a great event to network with other companies who are going through HCM evaluations. You'll able to hear from our product founder and CEO, David Ossip, along with some other Ceridian executives and Ceridian clients. So it's just going to be a great, kind of half day of networking, hearing from these thought leaders, and really just being able to learn all about Ceridian as a company and as a solution for your business.
Very good. I want to see if I can find you on LinkedIn so I can show everybody your LinkedIn profile. I have so many windows open that I got to find the right one. Right, we get through. I'm looking on another page while you guys are talking. Let's see. I know I should find you pretty close because we just got through talking to each other not too long ago. Let's see. Well, shoot.
While you're looking, I just wanted to say that I read another article trying to better understand, the whole human resources component that you guys can provide. And I was really fascinated by an article about hospitals and, their staff is overworked and all kinds of things, and how Ceridian can actually help to streamline some of that and shift things around so that you're not losing people because of burnout and everything else. And it was quite fascinating. I was really impressed by that.
Yeah, I mean, burnout it's a real thing, along with, some of the other terms that I'm sure people have heard as far as quiet quitting and things along that line. But yeah, I mean, being able to empower your employees to swap shifts with other employees, or just to have a lot more visibility in regards to somebody's schedule, and just kind of really understand what the ask is. I think that's a great first step for employers to kind of put the people back in HR, right? I mean, we're not, people aren't resources, and even though it's human resources. I mean, I'm seeing a huge transition of HR teams and really starting to call themselves more of a people ops type team, because at the end of the day, we are all people, and we're not machines, and we have to find a way to have that work-life integration, and having a good HRIS or HCM solution can certainly provide HR teams with the data so they can make better decisions.
No,
Very
I was
good.
impressed.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, here's your information. So there's LinkedIn, Ryan, and you got your full name there. There's phone number. There's Outlook, Twitter, and other things. So if this would be a good way for people to contact you, and I always like LinkedIn first because I like to know you're a real person.
Absolutely.
Somebody calls, I don't even know if they're a real person or not anymore, emails and everything else. So I always ask for a LinkedIn. And then, and plus on LinkedIn, you get these supermodel Asian women who are all CEOs, right? And you get 10 invites a day to be, and you go to their profile, see if they're a real person. It's zero contacts. If zero contacts or 100 contacts, why am I the 101? That kind of thing. That's kind of pretty interesting.
Yeah, I've been getting bombarded recently with text messages from, some of the, USPS and FedEx saying that, they're trying to deliver a package, but don't worry, click on this link and
Oh,
we'll
yeah.
get that all squared away. So it's pretty scary how creative bad actors are becoming in trying to access our data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a good way to show people you're a real person, because they can hear people talk to you. You can answer questions. You can see your website. You can also, so I would recommend calling Ryan. Ryan has already done me well. So I think that if you guys want someone to reach out to, then this is a good person to reach out to, especially for those complicated HR system type needs. And I think that's really good. All right, I'm going to take it off of this unless you got something else you want to show on.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to let you close this out. Nan, if you have anything to say, I'll let you go, and then we'll let Ryan have the last word.
Sure. From a person who's had over 100 employees in a past life, it would have been wonderful to have had a system similar to this. Anywhere close to it would have been great. It took a lot of manpower just to manage what we had. And like you said, there were bits and pieces everywhere. So thank you to Ceridian for actually being able to offer this to larger companies, because it's a major headache and it's critical that it's tracked properly, because there's so many legal ramifications that go along with that. So thank you. And thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to just create some brand recognition for Ceridian. So I greatly appreciate it. And hopefully I didn't fumble over my words too much. So being put on the spot sometimes, it's
Yeah, but you did great, and this is a lot of good information, and I'm going to take us off of recording.